Welcome to IHIP News. I think MAGA is still unraveling. Pumps, what you got?
Well, Laura Loomer, who has a very close personal relationship with Donald Trump,
Does
she's
she
now,
still?
I don't think so. I think that they cleared her out a little bit, but she was talking directly to him at one point. So I
Right.
can't imagine that they're not in some form of communication. And then I see this tweet that she made. She is so mad because she worked so hard. And now the big tech donors are just deliberately silencing us online. Is this what we can expect the next 4 years? Will the base be erased by the checkbooks of the tech billionaires? Of course they will. Like, this is not a surprise at all.
Um, this is what I started talking about a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
That there's going to be some inner MAGA jealousy because these people are like, hey, we wore the photoshopped masculine shirts of Trump. We bought the Trump Bibles. We did all of this stuff for him. We went to prison. And now he's hanging out with all these billionaires, giving tax breaks to billionaires, cozying up to corporate America. What about us? And so I think that one error that the Democrats made while the last 4 years in general, that Trump did successfully is identified the enemy. And during the Biden administration, he did a lot of great things for working class people, but it wasn't marketed well, and we didn't identify the enemy. For example, student loan debt. Let's talk about how insane it is to give an 18-year-old a bunch of money, and then they're saddled with these ridiculous interest rates and how predatory it is. And when Biden started forgiving student loan debt, which affects Republicans, Democrats, independents, et cetera, the Republicans immediately started saying, oh, yeah, we're not paying for lesbian basket weaving classes. They immediately started politicizing it. Instead, the Democrats should have said, look at how predatory corporations are. How many of you have had bankers and credit cards have outrageous interest rates that bury you? And then these guys have yachts, private planes, shareholders are making more money just so you can suffer more. And that is the message here. Because if Laura Loomer and Steve Bannon are starting to get a little traction with this within the MAGA base, it's all teed up for the Democrats to clearly identify corporate greed as the enemy because it is parasitic to all of us. Everybody falls prey to it. And basically, Trump is setting up a government for shareholders. That's it.
Yeah.
That's who's going to benefit from this, from MAGA 2.0, are shareholders.
Well, it's a pay to play government. It's an oligarchy, plain and simple. And it's interesting to me because we've seen it over and over again. The Republicans' message on we're great for the economy. And they're historically not. Look at the numbers. And this is just a snapshot of what's coming in Trump 2.0. If you want to pay me, if you want to support me, if you want to get tax breaks and deregulation, you got to pay to play. And the little guy, even the little MAGA crazies that have just died in the wool for this man, they're going to be just schlepped off to the side like they never even existed.
Another message that needs to be hammered nonstop is that in the 230-year history of our country, 25% of the current national debt, one quarter, was added in Trump's first term alone. So for all of the fiscal Republicans, I'm fiscally conservative, but socially liberal. I'm worried about the debt. I'm worried about government efficiency. 25% of the national debt was added in Trump 1.0.
Isn't that, I mean, that is just a massive fail by the Democratic Party that did not get out there more. That his creating tax cuts created a national debt and it only helped the upper super rich billionaire corporations. But like, nobody messages on that in the Democratic Party. I mean, if they do, it's a very low grade message.
Well,
And
I think this brings us to your second point, which are which is the wildfires in
Mhm.
California, which are horrible and tragic and devastating for all of the Americans living in that hellscape right now. But what they want to do is add conditions to aid. And I want to just point out for the record that Biden never, ever politicized natural aid relief, disaster relief. He never politicized it. There are still rumors in MAGA that Biden didn't help North Carolina. That is false. That is a complete misinformation and disinformation from your oligarch daddies that they will not fact check and correct. But what they want, the condition they want to add is so that they can raise the debt ceiling.
Mhm.
These are fiscal conservatives and Christian, Republicans that are saying we want to be able to condition that we can add more to the deficit and more to the debt and prioritize that over helping people in need. So, I mean, the hypocrisy is just, it's always on full display and it's, it's going to get a million times worse. I mean, whatever continues to happen, watching this and reporting on this is going to be stomach turning to say the least.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, they're on Fox News. Representative French, Kylie, play that clip.
Whether I would be for conditions, if people can find ways to attach federal conditions to that aid. California has to fix its really poor land management practices that have produced so much damage.
And this was all related to the climate change agenda. You know, they didn't want the timber industry to come in and log and cut down trees. So it does have to do with that ideology of the climate change agenda.
Okay, that's just a complete lie. This is caused and exacerbated by climate change. We are the only first world country who has an active political party that denies climate change. We're the only one. It's fully accepted science. And here's what's so gross about this. The oil industry has known since the 1970s about climate change, just like the tobacco industry knew that cigarettes contain carcinogens and cause cancer and a whole host of other disease in people. They have known since the 70s and they have covered it up. Just like Big Pharma knows about a lot of the side effects, you can look at the opioid industry. This is big industry. This is the big oil narrative against science and fact. And so it's just amazing how that propaganda is just pushed. But there is a willing audience for some reason that is so personally masochistic that they personally want to be punished by big industries because they feel like they're owning the libs by supporting them. And I don't know how to fix that. I don't know how to get people to embrace science and fact. I
Yeah, you
don't.
didn't think you'd have to convince them. But what you always have said to me with Republicans, cruelty is the point. And they are on Fox News saying, we are going to condition aid to people that need it based on what we want them to do. And they're lapping it up. And that shows me you're right. Cruelty is the point. It's
Yes.
just,
And there's this just really strong desire to like own the scientists. Like, it's like this whole anti-vaccine campaign is insane. And I'm old enough to have grandparents who had siblings who fell prey to diseases that have now been eradicated due to vaccinations. And so this long, long campaign against climate change, history is not going to be very kind to. 2024 was the hottest year on record. And
Mhm.
when it starts plowing through a red state's real estate, I'm looking at Miami, seawater's rising. And if they still have a Republican governor at the time, then maybe they might take it seriously. But Republicans always value profit over human beings. And the bigger the profit, the more they value it, the more the more consolidated the wealth is at the top, the fewer people that benefit from it, they value that even more. And I'm no Christian, but it's my understanding that Jesus opposed the accumulation of wealth.
Well, I mean, these people are Christian, just hypocrites, bullshit artists, pick and choose what they want. And I would say to you, these natural disasters, when they happen in California, I have seen legitimate comments. Now, they're not legitimate factually, but people are saying and people believe this is God's way of punishing the libs, the California wildfires. And people believe that, some people. Then you have the hurricanes in the South. Democrats are controlling the weather. This is how you can't fix this. There's no amount of education, talking that's going to fix someone and have them come into reality when they are that detached. I mean, you're just
Well,
fighting a losing battle.
And this same group of people also want to dismantle the Department of Education.
Yes.
Also said that going to college is woke. And then at the same time, you have Elon Musk saying, you dipshits are too dumb. I can't hire Americans.
Right.
And so living in the United States right now and seeing what is happening with this MAGA movement, and then reading Jack Smith's report and these things that we thought were true, like, nobody is above the law. All of our Black listeners are right now are saying, oh, finally, you guys are getting it. And y'all are right. You're right. I stupidly and naively kind of believed that to an extent. I needed to believe that, but it's not. What Donald Trump has shown is that you can be a piece of shit, you can lie, you can cheat, you can break the rules, and you get rewarded.
Yeah. Accountability has become nothing, especially with Donald Trump, but throughout the Republican Party.
That's right. All right, guys, we'll see you all later.